Chapter 8: Historical Research. Why we should study history. We study history in order to gain a better understanding of our world, our nation, and ourselves today. Historical research can still be defined as a scholariant to discover what has happened. It is the process of critical inquiry onto past events, in order to produce an accurate description and interpretation of those events. The basic purposes of historical research: to provide a clear perspective of the present, to facilitate planning for the future by identifying general principles applicable to recurring situations. Nature and value of historical research. Difference is the recognition of the gulf which separates our own age from all previous ages. Context means that the setting for the subject of the inquiry must be retained. Process is the relationship between events over time, which makes the events more relevant. Basic characteristics of historical research: rich descriptive narrative, mostly qualitative data presented. Broad research questions are frequently used rather than narrowly defined hypotheses. Two dimensions of history: historical time, or the chronology which takes into account the spacing of events and patterns. Historical space, or where events occurred. Research tools: structured interviews, visits to historical sites and buildings, archives, libraries. Historical research examples: what was the predecessor of the Cooperative Extension Service? What does John Dewey say about the integration of academic and vocations education? What did FA members read in the past, and what are the implications for the present? Importance of historical research to librarianship. Historical research can contribute to the body of knowledge about librarianship. It can increase our understanding of how, when, and why past events occurred. And it can expand our appreciation of the significance of these events. Types of historical research. 1. Biographical research. 2. Histories of institutions and organizations. 3. The investigation of sources and influences. 4. Editing and translating historical documents. 5. Studying the history of ideas. 6. Compiling bibliographies. Chronology can be defined as simply the describing of events in the order of their occurrence. Sources of historical information. 1. Official records, such as laws, deeds, annual reports of organizations, charters, and so on. 2. Newspapers and other periodicals. 3. Eyewitness accounts of events. 4. Archives. 5. Manuscripts. 6. Letters and personal diaries. 7. Biographies, autobiographies, and memoirs. 8. Historical studies. 9. Literary writings. 10. Oral evidence. 11. Memorials. 12. Catalogs. 13. Schedules, agendas, and so on. 14. Archaeological and geological remains non-documents. Primary sources represent the data which lie closest to the historical event. Secondary sources may be considered virtually everything not viewed as primary. Evaluation of historical sources. External criticism, or the gathering of external evidence, is done to determine if a source, in fact, provides authentic, primary data. Internal criticism is applied to check the credibility of the document, whether the contents given in it are believable or not. Basic steps of historical research. 1. Identification of a problem of historical significance. 2. Collection of background information. 3. Formulation of a hypothesis when possible. 4. Gathering of evidence or data. 5. Organization and analysis of the pertinent data. 6. Interpretation of the findings or the drawing of conclusions. Bibliography is the study of books as tangible objects, and it is also the systematic description and history of books. Bibliographical research considered to be a special type of historical research. Systematic bibliography is concerned with the book as an intellectual entity. Its purpose is to assemble information about individual works into a logical and useful arrangement. 1. Universal bibliography. A bibliography that includes everything published or issued in a subject field, regardless of date of publication. 2. National bibliography. A bibliography that lists everything published. 3. Trade bibliography. A bibliography compiled primarily to aid the book trade by supplying information as to what books are in print or for sale, when, where, and by whom they were published, and their price. 4. Subject bibliography. A bibliography that lists materials relating to a specific topic. Descriptive bibliography is concerned with the book as a physical entity or material object. Its function is to describe the ideal copy or primary document and its variants. 1. Analytical bibliography, which is concerned with the physical description of the book in order to determine the details of the physical process of its manufacturing. 2. Textual bibliography, which focuses on certain textual variations between a manuscript and the printed book, or among various editions. It is more concerned with the author's words than with the physical aspects of the book. 3. Historical bibliography, which deals with the identification of original editions and the placing and dating of individual books. The hypothesis in historical research. The use of a hypothesis in historical research helps to increase the objectivity of the study and minimize researcher bias. Collecting the data. The data collection technique for historical research, or at least for documentary research, basically involves putting together in a logical fashion the evidence derived from documents or records. Problems in historical research. 1. Deciding how much data are enough. 2. Improperly selecting data. 3. Relying too heavily on secondary sources of information. 4. Investigating an overly broad problem. 5. Failing to evaluate adequately the historical data and their sources. 6. Failing to interpret the data. 7. Reading the present into the past, even though the historical data may not support such an interpretation. Summary. Though the methods of historical investigation can be shown to be the appropriate counterparts of the methods used in other sciences to investigate the phenomena that specially concern them, there appears to be a general reluctance to accord to historical conclusions the kind of logical validity that the conclusions of other sciences are deemed to possess. Thank you. God bless.